Hi everyone, welcome to the MrpTech podcast. This is episode 169. My name is Matt, and this is the weekly podcast discussing everyday tech for everyday people. And this is the second week of recording from the new studio. And what I decided to do this week was I wanted to take a look back at some of the moments that I'm more proud of from this podcast over the last year or so, in sort of a year in review for the MrpTech podcast. And I'm curious if you have topics that all of you were interested in at some point during the year. If you have your favorite topic, just let me know. Do me a favor, email me, mrptechreviews@gmail.com. I'd love to hear what sort of topics the audience for this podcast is interested in. I try to do a wide range of things, so I know that not everybody is going to be interested in every single topic I do. But I hope with the wide range of topics that it keeps things fresh, it keeps things fun for everybody, and at least gives you an opportunity to go explore those topics further. A lot of times the topics I cover are just a first look at things, usually topics that interest me or something I'm working on during the week. And I try to do my best to make it out and make it somewhat intelligent and make it something that's understandable by everybody, hoping that anybody from a student to somebody who just has a hobby in technology can learn it on their own and take what I have said in this show and go and carry it on and maybe learn about it if it's a topic that they might be interested in pursuing. So what I'm going to do in this episode is I'm just going to talk about some of my favorite episodes of the past year. I have a couple of clips that I'm going to play for you, not too many. But just if you are watching or listening live in the Discord chat room right now, you're probably not going to be able to hear the audio clips, but I will have it in the final version of the show. Okay, so the very first thing, this came out January 2nd of 2019. So it was the first show that I did of 2019. And this show, the reason why I'm bringing it up, it was a big deal for my area, and you probably remember me talking about the Showtime series Escape at Dannemora and how the wild prison break that happened up here basically caused havoc up here for about 3 weeks. And if you're local, you sort of know what that was like to experience. And there was a lot of information put out in the news that wasn't necessarily true. There was a lot of rumors happening, and those of us that had lived through it, well, we had our own stories to tell. And so this show, episode 129, is Escape at Dannemora series review. I reviewed the show Escape at Dannemora that was on Showtime. It was I believe a 7 or 8 episode series produced by Ben Stiller. I really did a lot of work for those episodes. I read the books on the prison escape. I, of course, lived through a lot of it. I had my own experiences, my own funny moments. I remember driving down the road, the highway, and this was shortly after the prison break, a few days afterwards, and I remember just glancing and seeing 2 people sitting in the bushes on the side of the highway, both wearing like all blue, and never what was it, probably 10 years of driving that road every day, I've never seen anybody in that spot. So of course, we all did our part. I notified the state police and tried to get them to go investigate, and nothing ever came of it. But it just one of probably hundreds of people making calls at that point in time. And the whole prison escape thing was something that is for up here, as far as day jobs go, the 2 biggest forms of employment are either a teacher or a prison guard. And if you are not a teacher, you're a prison guard. It's just the way it goes up here. And so it was a big deal for a lot of my relatives who have either retired or worked at that prison at one point in time, and the stuff that they had to go through. And it was kind of an embarrassment for that local community that this happened. And it's a quite interesting story. If you haven't seen that series, Escape at Dannemora, definitely worth watching. Although there was some stretching of the truth, obviously made for TV and entertainment purposes. But that series review episode was something I was proud of because of just the amount of and storytelling that I wanted to do. And I talked about it a few times over a series of a few weeks. So that might not be the only episode I mentioned, the Escape at Dannemora sort of project, but definitely a good way to start the year, I think. And as I continue through this year of work, a lot of times these projects creeped up that I had no intention whatsoever of sort of talking about or doing. And what's great about this show is all the different random twists and turns that seem to crop up on me, and I get involved with things that I had no intention whatsoever of being involved with at all. And one of the things that happened this year is I ended up watching a documentary on the free software movement at one point in time. I did a whole show on Richard Stallman. I did a show about the free software song. And then the Discord room, which has been really active recently, it's been a whole lot of fun. I think I sort of just made an off-the-cuff comment that I wanted to write my own version of the free software song and have it performed by my group. It took me a little while longer to get it the way that I really wanted it to sound, and the ultimate version was just basically a first reading of my big band playing the song Sadi Moma, which is the free software song, originally performed by Richard Stallman, I guess you would call it, but it is a traditional folk song of I forget exactly where it came out of. It's a Bulgarian folk dance written in a strange meter, 7/8, which is not an even meter. And a lot of our music is written in 4/4, common time. So it doesn't seem like it's very steady sounding when you hear it for the first time, obviously on purpose. So it was later adopted as the anthem for the Free Software Foundation, renamed the Free Software Song. And there's a lot of things that I put in there. When I put the song out on YouTube, you can look up the Free Software Song and look up Adirondack Jazz Orchestra. That's the name of my group. And I put on there the 4 essential freedoms from the Free Software Foundation. Basically, the freedom to run any program as you wish for any purpose, the freedom to study how the program works, change it so that your computing does as you wish, the freedom to redistribute copies so that you can help others, and the freedom to distribute copies of your modified versions to others. The 4 essential freedoms for software, I think, was I had to include it. I also put the song out on MuseScore.com, published with a Creative Commons license, and I have seen a few people actually take it and use it over the last year or so. So this was in March, I believe, that I really I finally was able to get it performed. I had it ready to go, and I believe there was an issue with weather, and our performance was canceled. And so it had to be another month or so before the song was performed. But so when the band was performing it, it was basically they were reading it for the first time. I had handed out the music a few minutes before the band played it. So it's not exactly something that is perfect, but it was fun to do, and nonetheless. So here is a short clip. I'm not going to play the whole song of the Free Software Song, but I'm going to play a little bit of it. Here's the recording. So that's just a slight, a small version. You can find that whole. I'll put a link to it in the show notes, and you can find it on YouTube. The whole version of the song, the free software song performed by the Adirondack Jazz Orchestra. It is out there if you want to go listen to it. Just a fun project that sort of distracted me for a few weeks. And originally, I had sort of wanted to do it as a joke, and then I took it a little bit more seriously once I learned about it being a traditional Bulgarian folk dance, and it turned out to be something I was quite proud of in the long run. So it was a whole lot of fun doing it. Looking back at this year, 2019 for me was the year of the audiobook, and one of the things that I really did a lot of this year was talking about the books that I was reading, and I pretty much this year have read more audiobooks than I have in all the previous years. I've been an Audible subscriber since like 2015 combined. I really read a lot of very short books, whereas previous years I read quite long books. And there are, if you were to go to YouTube and type in MrpTech podcast and audiobooks, I'm sure you'd come up with some of the other shows that I have done. I just did an episode a few weeks ago, episode 167, the best audiobooks of 2019, that I sort of talked about some of my favorite reads from the year. And but there was a couple of times that I sort of did like an audiobook check-in. I sort of just talked about audiobooks mid-year, which I don't normally do, but there were so many that I read that I sort of felt like I had to. And also going back, 2018, 2017, 2016, best audiobooks, best audiobook reads as well. Just a real, I don't know. It's a way to share and talk about me being an audiobook snob, so to speak. There are free audiobooks out there, and I know Morton in the Discord room, he often encourages me to check out some of the free audiobooks. And in one of the Discord chats recently, he posted, actually it was the audiobook section, he posted an article from NPR.org about a new book called Sleeping Giants. It's a new series, and it looks very, very interesting. I would check it. It's if you're, I don't know, it basically begins with a young girl who falls into a hole in the ground and is found soon after sitting on a 20-foot long mechanical hand, and that it's just the tip of the iceberg. And the book seems very interesting to me. I put it on my Audible wish list, and I'm going to check it out as soon as I have another credit. It might be the first book that I read of 2019. I do have a couple that I'm sort of reading through right now that I'm going to finish up. But so thanks, Morton, for putting that in the audiobook section of our Discord room. If for those of you who haven't been in our Discord room, we have a general discussion area. We have a section for audiobook fans. We have a section for amateur radio fans. We have a section for sort of Linux users. Anytime I do a show, I also will put the audio through live on Discord for anybody who wants to jump in. And so there's also things for interesting links, tips and tricks, and also something I just added a little bit earlier today. It's my 2020 show topic list. And if you have an idea for shows, you can email them to me if you want to. But for those using Discord, if you have ideas for topics that you want covered in the show, just put them in that section, the 2020 show topic chat, and that will give me something where I can go back and look, and if I'm looking for a show topic to research and I know it interests you, I will come back and check that out. So I'm adding that so that it's more of a community thing here, and all of the people in the Discord room that are there every day can feel free to jump in and have topics that they are interested in to talk about. Okay, one last thing that I want to talk about, and this is probably one of my proudest moments of the year and most stressful moments of the year, and it was the sum of a year and a half long project at the school district I was working at, with our technology club, with getting students involved with amateur radio, with in collaboration with several staff members in my building, collaboration with administrators, with custodians who were tremendously helpful. And when we had our amateur radio station installed, we really needed help from our custodians to run the wire, to put up antennas. And once we got it all installed, immediately my next thought was, what can we do with all this stuff that would get kids involved with it? And so I had heard about the ARIS project, heard about the if you're hearing noise in the background, there's snow falling off of my roof. I've heard about the ARIS project, and I wanted to find out how to contact the International Space Station. And it was a project that took a year and a half to sort of work out all the problems. We wanted to do it a certain way, wanted to have a direct contact, and eventually we used a ground station to contact the International Space Station. But from what those of you that remembered, going back to episode 150 of this podcast, I put the audio feed of the entire contact in that episode. There is also a video on YouTube, and I will try to put it in the show notes if I remember. It's ARIS Contact Moriah Central School. It's the video from that live stream event. One of the proudest things, and one of the my proudest moments as a teacher and as a technology enthusiast and as a musician, and with our new sound system in our auditorium, there was a lot of things happening here that really had to come together. And the last 3 months getting geared up for this huge event with the entire school in our auditorium, it was just a moment where it was either going to happen or it was going to fail miserably. And I had done everything that I possibly could to make sure that it happened. And even up until 12 o'clock when we did our audio checks that day, I think contact was at 12:50 something. We were doing audio checks at noon. We had no sound in our auditorium. It was working earlier that day. Had no idea. It was just kind of like this last minute panic. And up until that point where we realized, oh no, this could fail miserably, and I have no idea why. Done week after week of audio checks to make sure everything was working, and somehow I just happened to flip a switch and it all came to be. And shortly after that, we learned about storms in Australia that may interfere with our signal to the space station. So we weren't really sure if it was going to happen at all. So I explained this to the students that we were watching live, and it was an experiment that it may or may not happen, and we're going to try our best. And so this was the final moments leading up to contact the ground station. Was called Victor Kilo 6 Mike Juliet out of Australia. And he had called out, 2 or 3 times before we got word from the space station. So this is the final call out. I'm going to play it for you. And if you see the video, there's definitely relief in my actions from all that hard work. And there's a shout out to everybody that helped me out with that project too. You guys know who you are. Okay, here's the final call out from this is episode 150 of the MrpTech podcast. About 26 minutes in when I'm playing the audio from the ground station to the space station.
Romeo 4 ISS, Oscar Romeo 4 ISS. This is Victor Kilo 6 Mike Juliet in Perth, calling for a scheduled copy. Contact. Do you copy? Over.
Victor Kilo 6 Mike Juliet. This is Oscar Romeo 4 ISS. I have you loud and clear.
Well done, and welcome to Down Under once again. Can we go straight to the school for the first question, please? Go ahead.
So after that, all the students that had been practicing for weeks and weeks were able to ask their questions. Just hearing the voice from the space station was a huge thrill for me, probably the proudest moment of the year. And if you would like to go check that out, if you hadn't seen that episode, episode 150 of the MrpTech podcast, Eris Contact, it was June 6, 2019. For those of you who might be listening for the first time, that particular contact had been canceled or rescheduled 6 times, and it was incredibly stressful leading up to the moments where we didn't think it was going to happen. And the final reschedule, they told me that it was likely going to be pushed to the fall, and I said, no way, we've had enough. It's either going to happen or it's not going to happen before the end of the school year. And luckily they were able to work with us after being rescheduled 6 times. Some really great moments there. And, there's some moments also I learned as a teacher, I had to deal with some other things that happened during that. It was basically a performance by these students, and they did an incredible job, and something I'm very proud of them and will always be incredibly proud of them. And so that's going to do it for my year in review. We've had a whole lot of fun, and the last couple months have been pretty hectic for me, but things are starting to even out now. I'm going to call it a day and look forward to the first episode of 2020. Thanks so much for listening, guys. We'll see you next time.